Good evening. It is truly my pleasure and privilege to welcome you here tonight to the 2022 CED Distinguished Leadership Awards. It is so great to see you all on this very special night when we're honoring very special leaders. So thank you and welcome. I also want to do a special welcome to our honorees, our introducers, our very fantastic teams of the honorees, our indispensable sponsors, and of course, our conference board team led by Steve Odland, who's CEO and president, and Ron Williams, who is the chair of the board of the conference board, and of course, our trustees, our CED trustees. It is so great to have you all here tonight. As you have just seen, although I don't think you heard, whatever the challenge has been, CED has been there from 1942, really harnessing the power of business leadership to address the most important and critical issues facing the nation, and trying to develop policies to move the nation forward in a bipartisan way. Throughout our nation's history, collaboration between the public and private sector has allowed us to meet the greatest challenges facing the nation. President Roosevelt recognized this in 1942, and that's when he reached out to our legacy founders, and he asked them to come together and to help him devise a plan to meet the challenges of the post-war era. And of course, that's when CED actually helped, our founders actually helped lay those foundational principles for an economic order, for an international order that provided over 75 years, 80 years of peace, and is being challenged today. Today, consequently, CED's mission is as important, if not more important, in terms of making capitalism sustainable and providing equal opportunity for all Americans. These shifting tectonic global plates are beginning to settle. While far from reassuring, they are providing insights into a 21st century iron curtain that is falling, and into the extraordinary challenge confronting public and private sector leaders in the countries with market economies and democracies. CED's Distinguished Leadership Awards honor those business leaders and their companies that exemplify CED's mission. And this year's awards pay special attention to those leaders who have helped in defeating the pandemic in these challenging times, have helped with an economic recovery in these increasingly challenging times, building a more civil and just society, as we saw tonight, is going to take a tremendous amount of effort, and upholding a rules-based international order that is under siege with the war in Ukraine. So, to help open this evening, this very special evening, where we actually have an opportunity to hear from those leaders and learn from those leaders who have been dealing with challenges, I want to turn to our co-chairs of the dinner, Tamara Lundgren and Ravi Saligram. Ravi is CEO of Newell Brands, and Tamara is president and CEO and chair of Schnitzer Steel, and turn to them to come up and help open the evening.
Good evening. What a thrill and pleasure and honor it is for me to be with you, Lori and Tamara, to co-chair this very distinguished event. When I started thinking about tonight, what struck me was tonight is a night of hope. When we listen to the news and read all the papers, it's with all the turbulence, we might think it's the worst of times, but in many ways, it is truly the best of times. Our world is full of endless possibilities. And tonight, when you hear from the awardees, you will see they have conquered the impossible and put to bed a pandemic, and we're all here in person celebrating. CED is a fairly incredible organization. As Laurie said in 1942, when CEOs came together to form this group, they really shaped the Marshall Plan, which helped with the rebuilding of Europe and the Bretton Woods Agreement. Today's CEOs here represent $1 trillion in revenues, 4 million people, and 30 industries. But more importantly, rather than the revenue figures, the CEOs here, under Laurie's great leadership, are really a force for good. And that is what we're celebrating, is their achievements as we go forward. So the night of hope, when we look in despair at a polarized nation, just look at the Edelman Monitor. CEOs are now the most trusted figures. And that's because our employees are looking to us to have a voice on issues, whether it's social justice or the environment. And I think today's CEOs are really rising up to that challenge. So I see CED in a polarized world to be nonpartisan, to be a bridge that unifies rather than divides. And I just want to say, tonight, Tamara will talk about the recipients of the awards, but all of them are distinguishing themselves, and it is a real pleasure to be here. Before I hand over to Tamara, I just want to say we should give a big round of applause to our fearless leader, Laurie, for her amazing leadership of CED.
Good evening. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Ravi. And to all our fellow trustees who are here tonight, thank you for the invaluable role that you play at CED. Last year, when we met here, many of us saw clearer skies ahead with significant challenges behind us. But today, we're experiencing more ambiguity and more uncertainty than ever. Whether it's the Hamlet recession, as Rob Valletta at the San Francisco Fed remarked to me the other day, are we or are we not in a recession given the decline in real GDP, but the strong employment data? Or whether we can count on stable supply chains, stable energy markets, or the geopolitical order. Tonight, we honor 6 individuals for their bold leadership during these very challenging times. Over the last few months, Laurie interviewed, brilliantly by the way, each of our honorees as part of CED's podcast series, Leadership in Challenging Times. I listened to these interviews and not surprisingly found some common themes among these extraordinary leaders. They lead according to values. That is how they ensure they lead with integrity, with clarity, and with purpose. They want to leave their companies, and the world for that matter, in a better place than where they found them. Tonight's honorees want to provide better security, physical, mental, and financial for their employees. They've shown the discipline to remain focused on the long term and not let the distractions of the short term push them off their course. And at their companies, these leaders have achieved balance. They've achieved balance between transforming and performing, between resilience and results, between compassion and courage. They've engendered the trust of all their stakeholders by being clear in identifying goals and then collaborating to find solutions. And they've been astute strategists and effective communicators, cutting to the chase of the problem, eliminating the unnecessary, and charting a path forward. To all the honorees and companies here tonight, we applaud you for your leadership in challenging times. The world needed it and continues to need it, and you delivered. Thank you.